Let's go over Star Wars when it comes to the character of Luke Skywalker. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one of the biggest things that I really wanted to touch on was the character of Luke and how extended canon pieces actually go deeper into his feelings overall. Now, ever since The Last Jedi released back in December of 2017, there's been a lot of, people divided within the Star Wars community, a lot of backlash and criticism going against it based on the decisions that were implemented in the movie by both Rian Johnson and what Kathleen Kennedy approved, etc., etc. So, looking at Luke Skywalker, this is actually the big thing that really created the division within the Star Wars community, starting with The Last Jedi, is because of how Luke Skywalker was treated in the film. How he was primarily, essentially created to be a bitter, not so much of a benevolent Jedi, and this is something that not a lot of people agreed with, and they wanted something more true to the character. So, looking at Rian Johnson, I feel like that a lot of the extended canon pieces really should have been implemented in this movie to begin with. However, with The Last Jedi comic, which by the way, if you guys would like to go ahead and check out more details about this, it will be linked below in the description. In The Last Jedi comic, just before he connects with the Force once again and remotely communicates with Leia, we get this deep emotional moment. Luke Skywalker's untold true feelings in the scene in which he's walking out of the first Jedi temple and heads to his meditation rock. This is where the moonlight is shining over and Luke Skywalker closes his eyes and reaches out, using the Force for the very first time in years. So I want to go over exactly what Luke Skywalker says to himself, and it really does create quite an emotional moment. So this is what Luke Skywalker says in The Last Jedi comic, and yes, this is indeed canon. So he states, "So much time spent here alone, closing myself off from the Force. I had forgotten now much this solitude has cost me, until she came and reminded me. I realize now the true cost of my isolation is not the disconnection from the Force itself, but whom it connects me to, those I love the most, and out of selfish pity, abandoned." And this is what Luke Skywalker says in that moment of himself just, kind of like reaching out to the Force, connecting back with Leia, his own sister, for the very first time in years, guys. So this is what I love so much about this, is because essentially what Luke Skywalker is doing here is he's admitting to himself that he has gone through this self-pity, and that was actually the wrong choice, and that it actually caused him to really distance himself from his loved ones, and it even created quite a stir, such as, Han Solo's death by the hands of his own son. What would have happened if Luke Skywalker was there, or sensed the danger beforehand? Things could have actually been changed quite drastically. So we do know that Luke Skywalker has a lot of these regrets going on in this moment, and that's what I love so much in the very beginning, in which he does state, "So much time spent here alone, closing myself off from the Force. I had forgotten now much the solitude has cost me." So the whole closing of the Force idea is a concept that Rian Johnson came up with, for this movie. Not a lot of people agree with that either. Now, the main reason as to why Rian Johnson implemented that aspect into this film is because he needed to create a reason as to exactly why Luke Skywalker was not communicating with his own sister, Leia. He needed a real, logical reason, and to him, that was the best way to go. Now, this is also another reason as to why Luke Skywalker wouldn't sense either A, the danger of Kylo Ren killing, Han Solo, his own father, and B, the First Order destroying, of course, the Hosnian system. So he looked at the script of The Force Awakens. He had to create this idea for Luke to actually not be aware of all this, and I guess the easy answer was, let's just cut him off from the Force. Now, that is something that I didn't really agree with fully. I believe it would have been great for a short and brief moment, but guys, you gotta remember, He's been using that ability for years, cutting himself off from the Force. It's one of the main reasons as to why Yoda says, "Young Skywalker, missed you have I." It's been years, ever since Yoda has seen Luke Skywalker in person. You know, just kind of like, you know, think about that. It's crazy, isn't it? So, let me know what you guys think about this moment for Luke in that scene in which he's stepping out of the First Jedi Temple. He reaches out to his meditation rock, closes his eyes, and reaches out to his sister through the Force, and they have this remote discussion, right? A real short little exchange of dialogue, very much similar to what they did in The Empire Strikes Back, right? She says Luke, he says Leia. Same thing goes as follows in reverse in The Last Jedi. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.